Thinking Game 110. Thinking Game. Thanks to everybody who's watching. Thanks to everybody who's been subscribing. Thanks for all the support. This is Mike, and I want to welcome you to the Thinking Game podcast today. We will see if I get anybody to join. The work schedules is kind of crazy this week, so it may be just me running through this and making a podcast today. So today's podcast topic is a sense of responsibility. Understanding this as you grow up, that as you get older, responsibility is expected of you, whether you want it or not. It's part of being an adult, is being responsible. And we're going to talk about this in a podcast. But learning this early as you can, every decision that you make you're responsible of making that decision to know if it's good or bad. If you don't know, just don't make the decision. Don't do it. Wait until you know. Because what you don't know can hurt you. It can hurt you big time. So take it from me, a person who made a lot of mistakes, a lot of trial and error. If you don't know, don't even explore. Just back away from it. Like, oh, I can't make a decision on that. I don't know nothing about this, so I don't want to get involved in that. So with that being said, the mission statement, Thinking Game, is made by guys who are from Southwest Little Rock. Our mission is to encourage and give insight on how to overcome inner city and obstacles and elevate in their life and career. This podcast is for the youth and young adults who needs help on thinking through life obstacles and increase chances of success. The more you embrace responsibility in your decision-making process, the more you start to increase your success. Anybody got anything to say other than that? Let me know in the comments, but I'm telling you from experience, the more that you embrace, when I make the decision, what comes with this? And if you don't know, ask somebody who's been through life that can share those experiences with you. That's what I would say. And if you don't have that person, research as much as you can and learn as much as you can before you make the decision. Because some decisions, when you make them, you don't get them back. And you have to endure the results of that decision. Kind of like going down a toll road. If you go down a toll road, you better make sure you got the money to pay for the toll at the end, or it's probably not going to be good for you. Same way with making decisions. You got to really work and craft on making solid decisions as early and as often as you can. Am I saying you're going to be perfect? No, but there are a lot of things you can minimize by embracing responsibility. So I saw somebody talk about this on a podcast, I think last week, not on a podcast, but on Facebook. One of them topics that really kind of people don't really talk about as much, but ADHD in the inner city. ADHD. And what I mean by that is I'm sorry. The first topic is reprogramming your mind for success. After surviving and getting out of the inner city, does a person have to reprogram their mind to increase their chances of success? My opinion, the answer is yes. You do have to reprogram your mind. There are some things that you did while you were surviving that you can't do when you're out of the inner city, working in your career job. There are reactions that you can't do, things that you can't say. It's just the reality of it. And once you understand that, it's not that much of a challenge. It's when you don't want to evolve. You want to stay at that place, that's when it becomes a challenge. And everybody has different challenges. Everybody don't have the same kind of, that's why that's why I'm trying to make it sound like everybody can understand. Everybody has different challenges, but those challenges, you can overcome them by reprogramming the way you do things. Like for me, working in IT is not hands-on, it's not, you're mostly dealing with the machines and software. You're not dealing with people as much. But attitude is one of the most important things. Reprogramming your attitude is one of the most important things you can do when you get out of the inner city. Because sometimes to survive, you have a different kind of attitude, a different kind of mindset in order to survive and get through. But once you get out, you have to reprogram that and say, okay, I'm not in survival mode anymore. Now I can live and make responsible decisions now because I survived and I overcame. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Do you have to reprogram your mind for success once you survive and get out the inner city? Once you get out of there, graduate high school, you can go live wherever you want to live if you got the means to. You don't have to live in that area, change your whole surroundings, but you still have to change some things up here as well. Telling you from experience. Now, this is the slide I was talking about. I got ahead of myself. ADHD in the inner city. Let me look up ADHD definition before I get into that real quick. So ADHD is marked by an ongoing pattern of inattention or hyperactivity, impulsivity that interferes with the functioning or development. So let me put this in regular people terms. ADHD means it's hard for them to focus on one particular thing, or they don't engage in something. We see this a lot. Social media kind of really enhances this. That's what they play on. Facebook, they get you with the scroll, a lot of social media with the scroll. You mess around and be scrolling for 30 minutes, not even realizing. You probably at work when you do it. Instagram, YouTube, all the major, social media platforms. They understand that the attention span is getting shorter and shorter. That's why they got reels. That's why they have stories. So you can glance at it, spend about 5 to 10 seconds on it, and then you move on to something else. It's just kind of how the world works now, guys. So, and here's the thing. It says that males are almost 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than females. During their lifetimes, 13% of men will be diagnosed with ADHD. Just 4.2% of women will be diagnosed. The average age of ADHD diagnosis is 7 years old. When I think about ADHD, I was born in 83. So I grew up between 87, something like that, and 80s and 90s and 2000s. When I went to school in the 80s, it wasn't even a thing, ADHD. It really wasn't. It wasn't until I got out of school, I think they really started diagnosing it. But what I will say is that the thing to counter ADHD is engagement in something that they like. And unfortunately, sometimes school is not school per se, it's the material. Some people can go to school and lock in. And there are other people who really can't lock in like you need to, because either it comes off as being boring, or you just don't understand the value why it's important to learn English, why it's important to learn math, why it's important to learn social studies, why it's important to have some form of art. And even when kids get out of school, programs that teach them about life, learning about finance, learning about responsibility as a man or woman, operating as a teenager and then transitioning to an adult, how the responsibility change, how expectations change. Not having those things available to them when they get out of school, what do you think these kids are doing when they get out of school? Because it's easy to be a student at school, but what about when they get home off the school bus and then they go home, what do they do? Because if most of the houses are single parent households, most of the time, the single parent is probably working 2 jobs or a job and a half. They're working overtime. And when the kids get home from school, their parents probably not even at home, or their single parent probably not even at home. So their kid is kind of left to their imagination and vices or whatever they're into. So just something to think about. So when I was coming up, ADHD, if you even thought you had it, it was, I mean, they had medicine. I never took no medicine or anything, but I did have that old-fashioned medicine. It was that leather belt. That kept me on track a whole lot more than I think what medicine probably would have. But I grew up in the 80s. I'll tell you how old I am, 40. When I went to school in Pulaski County, second and third grade, I think, they were still allowing students to get paddled. You would get a paddling. If you would act up in class, they'd take you out in the hallway and hit you with a paddle. Hit you with that paddle. I think they stopped doing it. I think by the time I got to 4th grade, I think, when I went to Little Rock School District, they weren't doing it no more. But yeah, 2nd and 3rd grade at Fuller, they was still paddling kids in. They actually kept, excuse me, long day, y'all, sorry. They actually kept a lot of problems down, in my opinion, when they was doing it. Because kids knew if you mess up, you're going to get a paddle. And it always had that one teacher who knew how to swing that paddle and would make you feel it. But I digress. And what I noticed about myself, sometimes you got to be honest with yourself, is the more that I am engaged in something, the less idle time I have. Because with ADHD or attention deficit, idle time is the most dangerous thing. Even if you're a normal person, idle time is dangerous because you just let your mind wander. Your mind could be just wandering. So find something to get engaged in, even on your free time, whether it's studying something. Like me, I study other podcasts, or I study something about cameras or IT or something like that, or my job with web development and stuff like that. You have to find different things that have you engaged, instead of just one thing. Because if you just one thing, once you kind of burn out on it, you'll move on your brain to go somewhere else. But definitely, it's not all bad. You just have to learn how to use it to your advantage. Because sometimes ADHD, if you look at it from another perspective, you can be good at multitasking in your brain, in your thoughts. But you have to be in an environment that has things to multitask on. You don't multitask nothing with idle time. You really just there left to your vices or imagination. So, with that being said, ADHD is something that's real big, let's say, in our community. But I think, in my opinion, if we had some centers, not just Boys and Girls Club, but centers to teach them about life and how important it is to get an education while you're young, so when you transition into being an adult, you understand that you have to educate yourself in a career. When you become an adult, it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of planning, a lot of commitment and execution. And if you have a small attention span or your attention span is short, it'll be hard to stay committed. It'll be hard to execute because your mind is so many different places. I mean, it's like your brain is scrambled eggs sometimes. We all been there, but there are people who can really lock in and focus, and there are people who need help with that, whether medicine or other options or whatever. So Don't look down on somebody with ADHD, or if you know how to help them engage in other things. It's because a lot of times boredom can cause ADHD. Boredom. You're bored with what you're doing. So you have to kind of counter yourself. What don't make me bored? What do I like to do? What can I be engaged in different things to keep my brain operating in engagement instead of idle time? But let me know in the comments what you think about that. So our next topic is Diddy made a public apology for his actions that were caught on film, and they were horrific. The question is, the title was Enduring a Mistake That You Made. We all have to endure mistakes that we made. We all make mistakes in life. Not taking up for him. It was an egregious act. He made a mistake. My question is, how does a person process and deal with mistakes in real time while dealing with the consequences and perception? One thing about life is we all, you don't want to make mistakes, but a lot of times we all make mistakes. Everybody's mistakes are different. And unfortunately, he made a mistake, a major mistake, and it was caught on film, and he has to deal with the results of that now. Sometimes it seems like when you down, it seems like when you make a mistake, people are kicking you when you down. But as an individual, you have to be able to deal and process with the mistakes that you make in spite of all the consequences and perception and criticism. You have to deal with yourself and work to get better in spite of all of that, because people are always going to have something to say. People are always going to, look at your mistakes as, I wouldn't have done that. Why did this person do that? But as an individual, you have to look inside of yourself, figure out, how did I get to that point? Ask God to help you repent. Nothing wrong with repenting. And through time, through self-development and prayer and the help of God, you can get through those things, but you got to accept responsibility and accountability for it. But you can endure a mistake. You can outlive, but you got to take it across the chin as well. You can't blame anybody else but yourself. You can't be in denial. You have to accept, I made that mistake. It wasn't because of nobody. I messed up. And I got to work through this internally to get through it, because there are a lot of people in this world, just generally speaking, made some mistakes, and it's hard for them to rebound from it. They hold themselves, they're real hard on themselves. And then on top of that, you got the world hard on you. So you have to find a way to resolve the issues that's within yourself that cause you to make that mistake. Because we all got issues, we all got things that we dealing with, we have to overcome. But you just have to be honest with yourself and know what you're dealing with and what you're overcoming. So I hope that he gets the help that he needs. I hope he learned from it. So my next thing is enduring a mistake you have made and taking the criticism without being defensive. This is one of the hardest things. This is the most humbling experience that you can experience, is to make a mistake and humble yourself and take the criticism without being defensive. Well, only did it because of X. I did it because of Y. I wouldn't have did it if it wasn't because of Z. Instead of just saying, I made a mistake, I messed up. It's all on me. I did that. I made that decision to do that. And like I say, the sense of responsibility, he made that decision, and you have to live with the results of that decision. Not from a judgmental standpoint, I'm just saying everybody in life, we all make decisions, we all make choices. Life is a series of decisions and choices. And it says security, people will come out against you at your lowest moments on every level of life. Even regular people deal with this. You mess up, lose a job, mess up in something. People will say, you did that? I can't believe you did that. You did that? You did? Why'd you do that for, you know? And then the person that made the mistake, you have to soak all of that in so it will limit the chances of you making that mistake again. People are going to criticize you. They're going to say, try to grade on what you did. They're going to try all of that. But as an individual, you have to work on to resolve your issues and recover. You're responsible for that. Nobody else is. You have to realize, just like you got yourself in the mud, sometimes you got to get yourself out the mud. While everybody's looking at you and making all the statements like security guard, saying stuff, secretaries, gardeners, people will come out the woodwork when you down. But the question is, what happened when you was up? What happened when he was up? Nobody was saying anything. It's only when you down and when you get caught and when you're going through the fire, when everybody come out and start fanning the fire. But if he can endure it, if he can work his way through it, he can get through it and resolve it. Just like anybody else that make mistakes. We all make them. We all got to go through the fire. As a matter of fact, anybody that grew up in the inner city, I told somebody on Facebook, in the inner city, a lot of people don't have mentors. You have your trial and error. That's your scars. They're from trials and errors. That's your mentor. That's your what helps you from not making that mistake again. Because you say, oh, yeah, I did that. That's the scar right there. No, I'm not doing that again. I don't want that scar again because it may be different. So I hope that he gets the help that he needs. I hope that he works on himself. And understand, young people, when you make a mistake, you have to do the work to resolve that internally as an individual. Because other people that's on the outside looking at you, they don't look at things the same. They may not give you grace right off the bat. You ask to go to God and ask God to give you the grace to work through that internally. Because the other person may not forgive you. They may not forgive you. But you have to forgive yourself and understand that I made a mistake and not be in denial, not blame the other person, but knowing that your actions, the decisions that you make, you're responsible for. Then we go to our next slide. Decision making. Decision making. How tough is it, or how tough it is making decisions in life? This is for my youth. This is not easy to make decisions in life. And I have that life does not care if you don't know. It does not stop the results that happen at the end of that road once you make that decision. Sometimes you're faced with a decision. I give you something simple. If you know you're allergic to lactose or you're allergic to milk, whole milk, it will not be in your best benefit to drink it. Because if you do, your stomach gonna hurt, maybe your whole body gonna hurt until it gets out of your system. That's the price you're gonna pay for drinking something with lactose or dairy, knowing that you're lactose intolerant. Now, if somebody says that, hey, I didn't know I was lactose intolerant. Okay, I get it. But you're still taking a risk because anytime you eat something, you don't know if you're allergic to it or not. You're just trying it. Whether it's sushi, whether it's something fried, anything. If you try food for the first time, you don't know how your body gonna react to it, but you take the risk and say, I never tried this before. Sometimes you make that decision so fast. You don't even think about it. It's like you saying, I never had this. I'm going to try it. And if it messes with me, that's the consequence I'm going to have to take because I never tried it before. But once you try it, or sometimes you can learn from other people's experiences and you can see that other people have tried it before you. If you know 5 or 10 people that has done it and it didn't work for them, why do you think it should be different for you when it comes down to decision making? I'm gonna show you this graphic real fast. Like when you get to that point right here, where it's like you come to that 3-part decision, you got a decision to make. Like when you think about food, you either gonna eat it, you kind of still thinking about it, or you're not gonna eat it because you're allergic to it. If you go ahead and try it, even though you never tried it before, you're assuming that whatever happens after I swallow this, I got to take what come with it. That's the same way in life. Life, what you don't know will hurt you. Making decisions and stuff you don't know nothing about can hurt you. And I want to play a clip real quick that I seen. Shout out to Vlad TV, man. Shout out to Vlad. And I want to show you kind of sum it up. And this is a dude from the streets, Wack 100. Shout out to Wack. He said this about Blueface. He's in jail. And he asked him, why is he in jail? Check this out.
And if you do have some sense of responsibility to yourself, you have to know what you're dealing with, and never could you allow that type of situation to make decisions, right? That could be that detrimental in your life, right? So, you know, Rock does things, but they can be controlled. His decisions ultimately come down to him.
Y'all see that? Your decisions ultimately come down to you. He said if you got a sense of responsibility, you have to know what you're getting into. You have to explore that before you make the decision. You have to look into that. Can I handle this? Is this what I want to deal with? Am I okay with this? When you think about having a family, one of the things, I don't know if people realize this, the doctor sometimes asks you is, do you have the sickle cell? Do you have sickle cell or sickle cell trait? These are things you have to think about. Is this person generally healthy? Do they have a condition? DNA. Because if you're trying to build a family, you want to give your family the best chance off of everything that you can know. You want to give them the best chance. So if you had sickle cell and then the person you meet, they have sickle cell, you got a choice you got to make. You should do this before you start to develop feelings. You need to understand what am I dealing with? Because if you had a condition and that person had a condition, the chances of you passing that to your kids is high. You go from 0 to 50% chance to probably 60 to 75 to maybe 100% chance that the kid will develop that condition as well. We have to think about those things as a community. We have to be mindful that when you're talking about reproducing, those things factor into it. No different than addition. 2 + 2 = 4. So, decision making. Another thing is, you used to hear this phrase from older people. You over there doing something you ain't got no business doing. And I'll sum this up for you. If you're doing something you know you don't got no business doing, and you still do it, you're going to take the business that come with that, whether you like it or not. That's the business that came with it. And you should have, if you don't know, don't do it. That's what I tell you. That's the simplest way I can tell you. If you don't know, don't do it. Decision making is one of the best assets you have from 17 to 25 when you don't have no finances to get to financial success. Your decision making is the best asset that you have. I can't stress it enough.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Your decision making is the best asset that you have. That's why I say education, trade, vocation, military. When you're young, the options that you can go into are unlimited. As you get older, they start to shrink based on age, based on your health, based on your circumstance. Some vocations, some like military, it's an age cutoff limit. Some careers, it's a time investment in order to educate yourself to get to the point where you can be verified or certified. Like to be a doctor, I think is almost 7 to 8 years of school, and it may be more than that if you want to specialize in something. You could be looking at 10 years of school. So if you started that when you're, 18, and you're done by the time you're 28, you will be financially stable, probably for the rest of your working years. But if you don't do that, you make the decision to just work at a regular job, not a career job, no benefits, no paid time off. You just have to be at work every day, whether you want to or not. There's no paid time off. If you got to work on Saturday, you're going to have to be there on Saturday, whether it's a holiday or not. And it all stems from a decision you made. Instead of me trying to elevate, I'm just going to stay right there on the baseline. So, decision making is very important. So our next slide is decision making. An example, Glenn Big Baby Davis is sentenced to 2, almost 3 years, something like that. Like let's say 48 months or something like that. Allegedly defrauding the NBA benefits program. And I got a clip that he was telling this story, a little bit of his story. I don't want to play the whole thing, but shout out to Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay at Higher Learning for letting him tell his story. But I want us to hear this because stuff happens in life, in this city. You are faced with opportunities, and I'm telling you, if you don't know what you're getting into, it's just best not to do it at all. That's the best way to look at it. And people can say, oh man, that's extreme. Guess what? You know what's more extreme? Having to do time, jail time, for something that you didn't know nothing about. You trusted other people to handle your responsibilities, and then the courts say they don't care. You're doing 2 years. Is that more extreme? Or would it have been better for him to say, you know what? I don't know what y'all talking about. I'm good. Don't even involve me in that. But let me know in the comments what you think. So, that's what I said. If you do not know about what you're getting into, don't do it. Not being able to slow down and pay attention to the details. That's sometimes one of the hard things to learn. The more you can learn that as an adult, growing up in the inner city and getting out, you can pay attention to the details. So let's play this clip real quick. I just want to play this clip real quick and let y'all.
And I think for a lot of people, they would be wondering like what your story is. So I guess my first question would be, what do you feel like is being said about you that's not true? What do you feel about where are people getting it wrong? What is your story?
Well, my story is the fact that I never defrauded the plan, and my intentions were never to defraud the plan. I had an injury in 2015 where the Los Angeles Clippers didn't tell me my ankle was broken. So I took it upon myself as a player, and I took it on myself and also the education that they gave me on my foot, that the fact that it wasn't broken, so I kept playing. So, you know, and I shot my foot up 3 times to play, and my foot was broken. I didn't know. I would have never shot my foot up if they would have told me it was broken. I would have never tried to play. And so me trying to play, it did more damage to my foot. And I didn't realize that until after the exit meeting. They didn't tell me my foot was broken. I had to find out from my own research and people in Baton Rouge that, hey, your foot's broken.
Okay. I'm not going to go against them on this. I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time. You know, most companies or most businesses, if you're a product of theirs, they're going to try to get the most out of you. No dispute with that. I wouldn't even doubt if that even happened, you know what I'm saying? Because they're going to try to get the most out of you, especially when they know that you're going to be a free agent. Like he said, they knew that after he left that extra meeting, he was going to be a free agent. They weren't going to be responsible no more for his injury or rehab. So, and that's another thing. You have to know how to take care of your business. Like, if you know you don't feel right, you may have to pay for it, but go get a second opinion. Why are you still playing for him? Because the team doctor works for the team, not for you. You have to remember that. It's like at a job, HR is getting paid by the company, not by you.
And so now as a free agent, that's different, right? You're by yourself, you're rehabbing by yourself, and at the same time, life is hitting you, right? Going through a divorce. My agent's brother got shot, you know, Daryl Hamilton from Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot going on. And it put me in a big depression where you can see it. You can see where there's an assault charge, there's a drug charge that I had that went away, you know, because weed is legal now. So it's just like I was going through so much.
So this is young people, or even adults like my age, man, you have to monitor. You have to really keep yourself in the space to know and be aware of what's going on around you. That's why we're talking about decision making, being able to say no to some things to prevent a lot of things from going on that could kind of fog your mind up. The more cleaner you can make decisions, that you start to develop that and saying no and knowing what to get involved in, what not to get involved in, the better off, the more peace you will have. But when you start getting tied up with different people, you start intertwining with these groups or that group, or you start things happen, or you know be with a person that kind of can just take you through the hellacious relationship. You have to be mindful of all these things. Like, who am I meeting? Who am I talking to? Who am I with? You have to think about all these things. If not, you could be like this. It can start happening like a whirlwind, and it will bog you down.
And when they say you defraud the plan, it's like, it's impossible, you know, because of my background and my injury and what happened. I had a real injury. Mm-hmm. And so when you're having a real injury, you're coming from a place of like not trying to take, I'm trying to get what is old when I'm old. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? So, but the thing about it is that people don't realize the fact that the system is corrupt. There were hundreds of basketball players that wasn't on that list that literally got subpoenaed for the same thing. But
you want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
It sounds like he mad because he got caught, and he's saying there's hundreds of other players that didn't get caught. This is why I say, man, you gotta know how to handle business. In life, you gotta know how to handle business. Whether it's getting the right legal team, soon as you get any kind of whiff of it, getting the right legal team that can defend you when this stuff comes about. You gotta handle your business. You cannot, sometimes you just can't trust another person to handle your business. You gotta handle that, or you'll be in this situation.
You didn't hear nothing about it. They're on ESPN. They're on your favorite podcast. And so imagine if the NBA lets that get out. You know what I mean?
Explain to me what you're saying now.
So meaning that the fact that the Players Association and the owners came up with a collective bargaining agreement, right? The collective bargaining agreement had health insurance in there for the NBA players. So if you wanted to be a part of it, you put your money and the owners matches your money. This money doesn't come from taxpayers. This money comes from us. If the money would disappear, the money would go right back to us. So that's one of the issues also too, because now they're telling us that we have this money for these injuries, right? I just want to get compensated for what I've been through. And so running into the system, everybody is doing it.
So this that statement that everybody's doing it.
Blade, ready to die.
It's always business, never personal.
I remember that I told my mom that a couple times, and my mom would always tell me, I don't care what everybody else is doing. I'm talking to you. You is fit to get the whooping. You fit to get the punishment for it. I don't care what they doing. I'm talking to you. You're the one responsible for what you did. Sometimes, man, when you gotta be careful about how you talk about your role in these things, because the court, I'm telling you, the court doesn't care about what he didn't know. Once you receive something, when you're dealing with insurance that's fraudulent and they can prove it, you're done. It don't matter if somebody, I'll let them get to it.
You know what I mean? So I didn't want to sit here and rat on my friends and rat on the people that, I didn't want to do that. And so now I'm sitting here doing time for healthcare when I needed it.
So he said he didn't want to rat on nobody. He said that, he didn't want to rat on his friends. But guess up, guys?
There can be only one.
You want to be a stand-up guy? You want to be the man? This is what happens. You're going to be doing 2 years because you don't want to cooperate. Not saying he didn't have to. It's his choice. But every choice, like I just said a few minutes ago, at the end of the road, there's a toll that you got to pay. He said, I didn't want to snitch. I didn't want to do that. Okay, go down that road. When you get to the end of the road, because you didn't want to do that, you wanted to go down this road, the piper said, you're going to do 2 years and some change because of the road that you just went down. That's the toll you're going to pay. That's how life is, guys. Life doesn't care. The law doesn't care if you're ignorant to the fact. The fact is that, they threw the book at you, you match what was in the book, and sometimes and if you can't defend that, have a good law team to get you out of that, you're gonna get done. It's just kind of how the game go.
Blade, ready to die.
All right, let's keep watching.
When I needed it, and when this doctor in Atlanta is a scam, and everybody knows this. And so he just basically told on me, right, to get his time cut.
So he said a doctor in Atlanta. He lives in Baton Rouge. Think about this. He lives in Baton Rouge. He's going to a doctor in Atlanta. Keep listening.
He only got 6 months.
Of course, the doctor is going to tell on who he can tell on in order to get out of it. People do that all the time. That's why I'm telling you, you got to make a decision. You don't even know this doctor from a can of paint. You don't even know this dude. He in Atlanta. You live in Baton Rouge. You don't know this dude. And when he starts saying these things, only
allow nothing to be in your life that you Can I walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner?
You gotta know how to spot the heat, man.
I want to go back because you talk about an injury that you had that you didn't know. How did we get here? You know, to the point where, like, in between you having injury, you needing care, and then additional care outside of the injury to the ankle, because it was more than just the ankle, right, that you were receiving care from. So, like, how did we get here? How did this happen to the point? Because you've mentioned a couple of things. You were talking about the doctor in Atlanta, the insurance plan.
So, going back to the collecting the bargain agreement, there's money available, right? And I didn't know when I first got out. A friend of mine that's in this investigation is doing time. He came to me and he asked me, he said, "Hey, are you paying cash for all your injuries?" And I said, "Yeah."
Now, he said a friend of his came and asked him, is he paying cash to for his medical help and resources? He's in the case too. So he came and asked you, are you paying cash?
My friend, huh? Yeah. Tell me why. Because he knows my first name?
How crazy is this is that if his friend knew that it was a scam and he brought it to you or him, he brought it to him, life, I'm trying to tell you, if you don't listen to nothing I say, life and the law does not care if you didn't know. The second he brought this to him, we could listen to, the decision, if it was me, I'm just saying if it was me, I know hindsight is 20/20, but when you don't understand about how it work, I understand that he has money set aside to use for medical expenses, but if you don't understand how it work, don't get entwined in the spider web when you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know everything about that, the ins and outs of that, don't do it. That's just me.
Right? And so he's educating me about this money that I have with the Players Association and letting me know how much money I got. Being a friend, you know, us basketball players, it's a brotherhood.
So, remember that. He said friend.
My friend, huh? Yeah. Tell me why. Because he knows my first name?
Now, he said his friend educated him on it. Here's my thing. When you talking about educating on stuff dealing with the government, the IRS, and insurance, you better know what you're talking about and you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. You cannot learn about that kind of stuff in 5 minutes. It's not a 5-minute conversation. It's not. And in my opinion, he had the access to ask a professional about, hey, what is this? How am I eligible for it? Not your friend, a professional, somebody who knows about this. That's just my opinion. I'm just trying to tell you, when you deal with these things in life, the things that you did when you was younger and you was in school, you may not get in trouble for it. But as an adult, stuff count and it can hurt you. I'm telling you, it can hurt you. And that's what happened, man. Trusting people that had no business probably even doing it.
Responsibility is it to let you know that this was available, like your agent,
my financial advisor and my business partner, who was not doing that, who also took the stand on me and lied. And so basically the collective bargain agreement has this money that's available for us. And he came to me saying, hey, you know, are you using cash? And I said, yeah. And so, okay, this is what you can do. I can help you, you know, get the money that you deserve.
When he said, I can help you, this is the factoring into how you factor into making decisions. Oh, he said he can help me. Is he a professional at that? Does he know about insurance, transactions, and payments? He worked in insurance? Your financial advisor didn't tell you about it. Your agent didn't tell you about it. But your friend's telling you about it. But he doesn't work in insurance, and he's not versed in insurance transactions and claims and stuff like that. I'm telling you, if you play around with the insurance companies, government, and IRS, they will come for you. Mark my words, they will come for you. They don't care.
So we go to a doctor's office, right? And I'm thinking like, oh, okay, cool. We're going to a doctor's office and we're getting easy access. We don't have to go, everybody's back here to his assistant and stuff, but we're just getting the right treatment. I'm not thinking nothing's wrong or I'm doing anything.
So you have to slow down and pay attention to the details. You gotta slow down and pay attention to the details. Slow down, pay attention to the details. He said that your friend, not only did he educate you on it, but he took you to his doctor. Not your doctor that knows you, knows your body. He took you to his doctor.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Let's keep listening.
So we go, we get the examines, and then 2 weeks later, Terrence Williams calls me. And I know Terrence Williams, but I don't know him.
So, another red flag. He said 2 weeks after he did that with his friend, went to the doctor's office of his friend. 2 weeks later, Terrence Williams called him. Let me tell you how crazy this is. He said, I know him, but I don't know him. Once again, decision making. Not judging the brother at all. I'm just telling you in life how you have to move in life. You have to be judicious about your decision. If somebody calls me and I know of you, but I don't know you, you're not going to convince me to do anything of that nature if I don't know you, because you could be selling me anything. But that's just me. I had the money, I would have just kept paying cash and getting it done. That way I don't have to worry about anything. The less overhead you can take away, the less liability of getting in trouble you can take away, I would, in my opinion, I would just do it. But that's just me.
There can be only one.
All right, let's keep watching.
My first time having a conversation with him. Mm-hmm. And so he asks me, hey man, why are you not answering the phone? Why are you not answering the phone? And I'm like, I didn't know you, like, what's up? Like, he was like, hey man, I'm the one that did Allen's and I'm the one that helped this. I represent the Players Association.
Now, this is, in my opinion, this is when stuff get deep. When he said that I'm the one that did that for so-and-so XYZ, I'm the one that set it up. Now, just 2 seconds ago, he just said that I know him, but I don't know him like that. But he's telling you this.
Blade, ready to die.
You gotta think, man, before you make actions like that. I'm telling you, you have to think through these things. There's no way somebody can tell me they don't know me to do something like this, knowing that, like, say, insurance companies don't play around. They just don't. I'm telling you, they don't. Let's keep listening.
I'm like, you're a rep for the Players Association? He's telling everybody this. And so,
before I move on too, Terrence Williams told him that he was a rep for the Players Association. Now, I didn't even play basketball in the NBA, and I know who Terrence Williams was as a player. And I know for a fact he wasn't a part of the Players Association. he wasn't even that good to be a part of the Players Association. Most of the time, Chris Paul was a part of the Players Association. He wasn't on Chris Paul level at all. He was more on a Kyle Kuzma kind of level player, a third tier level, superstar, mid-level, and third tier. He was like third tier kind of a player. He wasn't like something that's gonna change your franchise. More like a role player kind of guy. Dude wasn't a part of the player. You have to think about what people are telling you. Like, why does he have to tell you something like that? And if you know that he's telling stories now, like he telling you this, red flag. Red flag. At this point, he probably should have been starting getting his legal team together right now, handling his business right now. Right now.
As we go along, we're having conversation, and I feel weird about it. So I get my financial advisor involved. And so I get him involved, he talks to him, and then he calls me back and he says, hey, review it, sign it, send it back. And for me, I'm thinking that's cool because this guy has done everything for me and for my whole life.
So, another thing, he trusted a financial advisor to do the back end stuff for him. He just signed it. A lot of people do this though, let's be honest. A lot of times with jobs, with offers and stuff like this, you just sign the paperwork because you don't want to read the whole thing. But what I'm telling you is before he sent them the paperwork, I'm talking about rewind it, before he got the paperwork, he talked to his financial advisor. Before that, he talked to Terrence Williams. Now let's go forward. Terrence Williams told him, he said, I don't know him. I don't know him like that. Terrence Williams said, I'm the one that set up the stuff for y'all to get the benefits. Then he said, I am a part of the Players Association, which it sounded like he was not. I don't ever remember him being a part of that. And then he talked to his financial advisor and sent him the paperwork and said, review it and sign it. And he said, notice he didn't say, I should have read it. He just said, I trusted him and I took the paperwork and I just signed it. It probably was digital. He probably just did it on his phone, just signed it. And in law and in life doesn't care if your financial advisor screwed you over. They're going to tell you that you should have read that document and before you signed it. That's what they're going to tell you. You can argue it all day. I trusted him. He messed me over. He should be getting punished. They say, no, but you signed it. They're going to say you signed it. I'm telling you, they're going to say you signed it.
Divorce papers, from signing taxes to making sure that everything, my family, like this guy, but 11, 10 years.
What did you sign?
There's a document, right, that he has to fill out with all the things. We have to fill out with all the stuff, right? And so he fills it out. So I'm thinking it's okay, because I'm.
So, you hear that? He said he fills it out, and I'm thinking it's okay. He said, I'm thinking it's okay. Some things you have to know. It's not a thinking thing. You got to know that it's going to be good. You got to look at it. No, before you send it off, let me look at it. Let me read through this. Before I sign this, let me read it.
Coming from a place of, hey, he knows my injury. He knows what I've been through, and we need this money. You know what I mean? And so he signs this, I'm thinking, okay. And as things start to evolve, Terrence starts to be like, yo, I need $16,000. And I'm like, fuck no.
So he goes through that cycle of signing papers. He probably wasn't looking at them. Like he said, he trusted his financial advisor to do all this stuff. Terrence Williams calls him and says after he do these things, that's how this stuff get crazy. They wait till you get deep in it and then they try to come get the money, extort you. I don't know if it's extort, but he said, I need $16,000. Pretty much he telling him, you got to pay me $16,000 for getting you these benefits.
Allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner.
So it sounds like I'm starting to see the heat now, but he couldn't go away. So you have to spot these things, man. You have to be savvy in your thinking. Because I think at this point when he asked him for $16,000, in my opinion, I think that he was kind of in too deep at this point. He in too deep. And a lot he can really do. He need to be getting his legal team together right now. Right now. Well, it keeps going.
I'm not giving you $16,000 for what? What do you? That's when I started to know and started to feel. So I called Tony Allen, and Tony Allen told me like, "Hey man, you shouldn't have."
So instead of calling his legal team, if he had one, instead of calling his legal team, getting his ducks in a row, he calls Tony Allen. Tony Allen is another NBA player. He's not a professional. He's not a lawyer. He's not an insurance professional. This dude was a retired NBA player just like he was. They played together with the Celtics.
You know, you shouldn't have fucked with this guy. You should fuck with me. And I'm thinking like, in my head, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Right? And so.
Another time, you gotta trust your instincts sometimes. Your instincts tell you, man, it smells fishy. It smells fishy. That's why you gotta have experience. Having somebody around you with more experience that's seasoned can help you out in life as well. But not everybody has the luxury of that. But man, he's learning the hard way, man.
As the plan evolves and stuff happens, right, me and Terrence get into it. And I'm like, hey, bro, I'm not about to fucking give you $16,000. This is, you know what I mean, bro? Here go $1,000, right? Because he needed a loan. He was begging for a loan. Like he needed money. And so I gave that.
So, do you see how he's building the case against himself and he don't even realize that he's doing it? Whether knowingly or unknowingly, the law does not care. Life does not care. If you don't think about what you're doing before you make the decision, you'll be in the mud just like, and it can happen just like that. And this happens in life. This happens to regular people. This don't just happen to people like Big Baby David. This happens to people in real life. I've made mistakes and said stuff I shouldn't have said, done stuff I shouldn't have did, went places I shouldn't have went. Didn't have no business doing, didn't have no business saying, didn't have no business thinking it. Been there. And that's what I'm telling you. I'm stressing it. You have to be judicial about your decision making.
Just to say, hey, bro, it's over with. Look, hey. So I end up not getting any money, right? Because the plan manager vetoed the plan, right? But I'm still under investigation, right? And so as I thinking to myself, oh, it's over with. Hey, I didn't get no money. Hey, everything's good. There's an investigation going on, right? And as I'm going to rehab again, I go to another friend doctor that's in Encino who's also in this situation, right? Who also pled, right, to whatever he did. You know what I mean? So that's another corrupt that I don't even know.
All right, I'm gonna stop because I won't play the whole thing, but that whole clip. But man, everybody that he dealt with in that ring was dirty, man. Everybody. His friends, who was his so-called friends, all of them had dirt under their fingernails. He can say he was clean, he could try it, but I'm telling you, law does not care. Life doesn't care. When you get involved with people and you don't know what they're doing or what they're getting into, guess what? The law is going to get everybody. It's called guilty by association. Tough. That's why once you know how the game is played, I always tell kids, once you know how the game is played, you have to know. If you don't know how the game is played, learn how the game is played. And I'm telling you, in life, as an adult, there are so many things out there that you can do that you don't know about. You could be breaking the law and not even know it. If you buy a TV from the drug addict at the gas station, the 42-inch TV, and the police catch y'all doing it, guess what that's called? Theft by receiving. You didn't steal the TV, but you received the TV through a theft. I didn't know it was stolen. They're going to tell you, you should have thought about that before you bought the TV. Ignorance is not an excuse of breaking the law. They're going to tell you that. A judge, you won't be able to tell a judge that. I've seen people go down, get some, I don't know if they got time, they got on probation, but theft by receiving, it's crazy. You can get a charge. That's a charge, man. 100%. So our next slide is dealing with people in life. And one thing I got is interpretation versus definition. Meaning, interpretation is the process of attaching meaning to the data. The process of drawing conclusions based on the results of analysis of data is known as interpretation. It reveals the importance of research findings. Sometimes interpretation is based on your experience or your research. And if you don't have enough seasoning, your interpretation may not be as seasoned as if once you get, like a person that's 17 versus a person that's 25, two different interpretations of looking at things, looking at life rather, and definitions. Just think about this. If you line up 10 people, 5 women, 5 men, and ask them, what's the definition? Like, what does dating mean to you? You may get 6 out of that 10, you may get 6 or 7 different answers. There won't be a clear definition. This is how life works. Young people, middle age, some things in life, everybody's not on the same page on everything. Everybody has different definitions. Some people may say dating means to be with somebody exclusively before courtship. Some people may say dating means, you talking to different girls. You just, you're not settled down. I'm just dating. I'm just seeing people, other people. That right there is already a difference. Interpretation. Let's say I go talk to 18-year-old Mike, and I tell Mike, man, you need to get off the couch. You lazy. 18-year-old Mike interpretation is gonna feel like I'm getting on his nerves, I'm bugging. But 40-year-old Mike is thinking, his interpretation thinking he's trying to motivate and encourage him by saying, man, get up off the couch. But two different interpretations. Now, when 18-year-old Mike get older, his interpretation may change based on experience. And then he'll say, you know what? 40-year-old Mike did tell me to get off the couch. He was trying to encourage me to do better. And that's why I'm stressing to the kids, be better than me. If anybody who wants to listen to this, be better than me. You can be better. You can take this insight and do some great stuff. You can experience things more efficient and earlier if you make the right decisions. If you make smart, efficient decisions. Learn how to execute. Learn how to understand what you're doing before you get into it. But that's just the insight. I'm telling you that the more that you invest into your understanding and embracing responsibility and making decisions and executing, the better life will start to become. It'll open up to you in a different way. So before we get up out of here, I got to pick one. Let me know what you think. Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal? Who you got? Let me know in the comments. Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal? Walker, Texas Ranger, or On Deadly Ground, Above the Law? He did a lot of those little kung fu / gun movies. Chuck Norris, kung fu / gun movies, action movies. When back then it was like him and Rambo was making an action movie, something like that. I'm gonna pick Steven Seagal because that's who I grew up watching. My grandma loved some Chuck Norris. You better not say nothing bad about no Chuck Norris. She loved watching Walker, Texas Ranger and Chuck Norris movies. She did. She loved it. But I like Steven Seagal. That movie is a good movie, On Deadly Ground. It's this action movie. I love that movie, but I'm taking Steven Seagal. That's who I watched coming up. He did some cool stuff in movies with guns, and I don't know if he's a great kung fu guy, but he actually has some crazy movies and crazy scenes in movies though with the gunplay. So I'm gonna go with Steven Seagal. Let me know who you go with. Let me know what you think. Who you picking? So with that being said, thanks for watching The Thinking Game. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for helping us grow. Be sure to check out the Thinking Game podcast on Thursdays around 6 or 7, depending on what time we get off work. Also check out CTM Sports as we talk at different days during the week. And please subscribe to CTM TV LR on all platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Please subscribe, watch the clips, watch the podcast. Let us know how we doing. And if you would like to be on the podcast, let us know. We can send you the link. You can come on and we can talk about our experience of growing up in our 20s and 30s and how we got to our 40s and some better decisions that we could have made that we can give back to the youth. But hey, this is Mike. I'm signing out. Thanks for watching, and I am out.